Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name is Scott and in this episode we're looking at the top players to target in gameweek 32 Sun Dream Team. Now just so you know, we're recording this episode on Thursday evening, but before the Europa League and Europa League conference games have taken place. So a little caveat when we go on to the sections that include those teams. Gameweek 32, the deadline is Saturday 20th of April at 2 p.m. The 3 p.m. kickoffs for the deadline, and probably not games that we're going to get any sort of team leaks for or anything like that. We've got Luton versus Brentford and Sheffield United versus Burnley. So I doubt many of you are going to be asking questions about those teams. But the guys at the Dream Team Tonic will be running the usual deadline stream. Unfortunately, I can't make this one, but Ben and Tony will be there answering your Dream Team questions. So go over to the Tonic and give them a follow. So game week 32 is a double game week, but we've got a mixture of Premier League sides and FA Cup matches in there. So Premier League doubles, and then some that have got a split double between FA Cup semis and Premier League matches. So far, this game week, we're going to set the scene a little bit. So far this game week, Arsenal and City have both been eliminated from the Champions League. We've got Liverpool that have got to overturn a 3-0 aggregate defeat away from home. West Ham have got to overturn a 2-0 aggregate defeat at home. And then Aston Villa, a 2-1 up going into the away tie against Lille. So we'll see how those ones go later on. But a lot of the European sides now lose their European fixture advantage. So obviously a lot of us were stacked up on City, Arsenal, Liverpool. These teams are not going to have the extra fixtures now, and it's been a bit of a leveler. We're going to start to see some teams or players come from teams that don't have European football, so the player pool is going to open up a fair bit. Game week 32 doublers: Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea play Premier League and FA Cup semi-finals. Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton, Palace, Wolves, Sheffield United and Bournemouth both play in the Premier League twice. In Game Week 33 and Game Week 34, there's currently double game weeks for Chelsea and Spurs. So Chelsea are going to have back-to-back doubles. Chelsea and Spurs doubling 33, but there could potentially be some other European fixtures put into there for the next rounds for whoever gets through, but not as many teams as we would have been expecting. So, for example, if Aston Villa do get through this evening, they will have a double game week in 33 and a double game week in 34. But as it stands, the only ones that are definite are Chelsea and Spurs. Spurs obviously blank though in game week 32, so not as appealing to jump on them right at this moment. A quick look at the fixtures for the teams that do double. Manchester City have Chelsea at Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final. That's then followed by Brighton away from home. Obviously now knocked out of Europe, so don't really have a massive fixture advantage, but obviously could still go all the way in the FA Cup. Manchester United, Coventry away from home, and Sheffield United at home. Now this looks like a really good double game week. Obviously Manchester United's form is a bit touch and go at times, but as double game weeks go, this one does look really good. So that Coventry one, is at Wembley in that semi-final, and then Sheffield United at home. Followed by a pretty nice single game week in Burnley, and then away at Crystal Palace in 34. Arsenal, another team eliminated from Europe, my team. Miserable evening yesterday. We have Wolves away from home and Chelsea at home in game week 32. Obviously hoping to try and turn things around, but at the moment things do seem like they're spiralling a little bit. Liverpool, an away double, Fulham and Everton, both away from home. Fulham's home record has been pretty good so far this season. Away at Everton, though, they'll obviously be up for it because it's a derby, but Everton obviously suffered a massive defeat at the hands of Chelsea earlier in the week, so that one could be a decent fixture for Liverpool. Chelsea, in good form at the minute. They do have that tough match against Man City in the FA Cup semi, and then a tough match away at Arsenal, but they're in good form currently. But as doubles go, Man City and Arsenal do look pretty tough on paper. Everton, Palace, Wolves, Sheffield United and Bournemouth. I think we're entering punt territory in these. Everton, Forest at home, Liverpool at home. I don't think anyone's going to go near that. Crystal Palace could be interesting West Ham at home, Newcastle at home. The likes of Eze, Elise, Mateta have been pretty good going forward, but it will still be a punt. Wolves, home Arsenal, home Bournemouth. Matthias Cunha is getting a bit of attention at the moment. He's on good form, but again, punty. Sheffield United, let's not even bother. And then Bournemouth, Aston Villa away, Wolves away from home. So maybe Dominic Solanke, but I don't think there'll be that much interest other than that. A little look at longer term fixtures now. So I've got the whole fixture ticker from ffstuff.co.uk up on the screen. From gameweek 32 through to gameweek 36. There will actually be a gameweek 37, which will include some cup finals. It's not currently showing on there. We don't know which teams are going to be there either at the moment. But 6 game weeks remaining. Game week 36, that will have a Europa League final in there, if people make it there from the English teams. Game week 37, FA Cup final and Europa Conference final. Again, if Aston Villa make it there. Chelsea, 8 fixtures showing on the ticker from now until the end of the season. Obviously, that could up it to 9 if they manage to get past Manchester City in the FA Cup. You've got City and United, both have 7 fixtures. Both could rise to 8 if they make the FA Cup final. And then it starts to get a little bit more even amongst some of these other teams. So you've got Liverpool there that have got 6. This could go up to, well, potential for 9 if Liverpool make it all the way in Europe. But again, not looking that likely currently. Villa and West Ham have the 5, with a potential for 3 more European fixtures if they do end up making the final. So a bit of variance there with some of the teams that are still in Europe, still in the FA Cup. But all the rest on the ticker is pretty much as is now. So obviously Arsenal out of the Champions League now only have the 6 fixtures. They are all showing on the ticker. You've got Newcastle there, 6 fixtures. Brighton, Spurs, all on 6 fixtures. Palace. So the guys that are out of FA Cup, out of Europe, all now have pretty much the same fixtures. There's a few teams that just have the 5 and other teams that are on 6. But the ones I just mentioned, Chelsea, City, United, Liverpool, Villa, West Ham, they could all change based on how they get on in Europe and how they get on in the FA Cup. But after this evening, everything should be a lot more clear. Right, on to the teams to target. We'll start off with Manchester City. So out of the Champions League on pens. Obviously, I was watching Arsenal. That game clashed with the Man City game, but I did go on to watch what was left when it went to extra time and penalties. From the highlights, from what I saw, looked like Manchester City were probably quite unlucky to go out, but that's what happens when it gets down to the shootout. 7 fixtures for Manchester City from now till the end of the season, possibly up into 8 if they do reach the FA Cup final, which they've got to be the favourites really to do against Chelsea. And so it's Chelsea and Brighton this week. City have now got the full squad back fit, but Haaland and KDB both apparently asked to be subbed in this Champions League match. Must have been a bit of fatigue or some injury concerns there. I will obviously have to wait and see. But other than that, no real doubts or anything around injuries. It's going to be interesting though, just with the FA Cup left and the Premier League, will we start to see them settle on one side and use sort of one set of players, or will there be heavy rotation? It's going to be hard to know, but you'd think with just the Premier League really to focus on, we might just start to see a little bit less rotation. I'm going to start off with Kevin De Bruyne on the players to target. Like I said, apparently he did ask to go off. He has played quite a lot of minutes lately, so I think it probably could just be fatigue. But he got 18 points this game week, which if you were me and brought him in, you would probably have been happy with if you knew this was going to happen, but not if you took Cole Palmer out for him. So that was the mistake I made this game week. I'll come on to my team update a little bit later. But overall, you would have been happy with 18 points this game week, I think. Got a goal against Real Madrid. He got 3 shots on target in each game this week and a bonus in the Real Madrid game. But he has played a lot of minutes. So 112 minutes against Real Madrid, 81 against Luton. I just couldn't turn down having KDB for that Luton match. He did have a decent match as well, but not a mega haul. But could he possibly get a rest in this Chelsea game? That's what I'm a little bit concerned about. He has played a lot of matches recently, and he hasn't been the fittest, where he's missed a lot of game time this season. So possible rest in game week 32 perhaps, but we are getting near the end of the season now. 7.5 average points, 5 goals, 14 assists for the season in 17 matches played. So a really, really decent return when he has been available. I'll be keeping Kevin De Bruyne. I expect that I'll probably end up keeping him now for the rest of the season. But let me know what you think. Are you going to keep Kevin De Bruyne if you've got him in your team? Or maybe are you going to rotate him out of the team when it's just a single game week? Because they've got a double game week in game week 32, a single in 33, a single in 34, and then a double back in 35 with Fulham and Tottenham away from home. So I'd be interested to know whether or not you're going to just stick with Kevin De Bruyne if you've got him, or if you're going to maybe rotate that position and try and target the doublers. On to Phil Foden, who has trolled people a fair bit this week. Wasn't his own fault. We're going to blame the leaks. So there were some leaks before. Well, if you was watching our deadline stream, there was leaks that Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne were going to start that Luton match. Turned out that the Phil Foden leaks were untrue. And he started on the bench for Luton. Pep Guardiola sort of hinted that he was never going to be starting, but there are sort of rumours around that we sort of acknowledged that he knew that there were leaks going on. So maybe near the business end of the season, Pep is throwing out a little bit of shade. But yeah, disappointing if you kept Foden, and especially if it was maybe at the expense of a Cole Palmer. 3 points for the game week. Didn't play Luton. Just the 3 points against Real Madrid. But he did get 120 minutes in that Real Madrid game, so I don't think you can be concerned about fitness. He's got a 7.9 average, highest scoring player on the game, 21 goals, 11 assists. Not really anything new of note from Phil Foden, but I still will want him in my team for game week 32. On to Erling Haaland. So I would say that he seems off of his usual pace at the moment. Still 2 double-digit returns in his last 4 matches, so he hasn't been terrible. But I think it is safe to say he has been a little bit off of his usual best. He hit the crossbar against Real Madrid, so maybe we'd have changed our tune if he'd got a goal in that one. And he is still getting big chances, but he is missing a fair few as well at the moment. So fair to say, Haaland not quite at his best, but I won't be taking him out anytime soon. It'd have to be an injury for that. Maybe I could consider it for a single game week, but I really don't see myself doing it. Let us know if you think you'll be taking Haaland out at any point in the season while still fit. With less fixtures now for Manchester City though, I'm not so interested in many of their players outside of those 3. The obvious 3, De Bruyne, Foden, Haaland. And the reason why is just because I think with less fixtures, I think these midfielders and defenders are slightly less attractive because there will be rotation. And then you haven't sort of got the usual guarantee of 2 matches a week like you would with Manchester City. Normally, you know, if your guy doesn't start one, he's going to start the other, for example. Or if it's like a Rodri, you know that he's going to start most of them. Out of the other ones, though, I do think that Doku has impressed. 7 points, an assist, and 3 bonus off the bench against Real Madrid. And then 15 points, 3 bonus, a goal and 2 assists against Luton. Running absolutely riot in that game. But I'm just a little bit doubtful from now on. Is he going to get 2 matches with Jack Grealish available? A bit of a doubt that, I think. And then you've got the likes of Palmer and Bruno. So you could have a Palmer or a Bruno Fernandes this week over, for example, a Doku. And you just know that they're going to play 2 lots of 90 minutes. They're on penalties. I just think there's so many better options now than the City guys in midfield, now that their fixtures are equal to other teams. Defence, I think this is going to be equally hard to choose from with Man City now that there's less fixtures. And we have seen at the back end of some seasons that Manchester City do sort of stick to one sort of back line. The only thing is, I think game week 32 could be the only sort of difference with this FA Cup match. There might be a slight bit of rotation where it's an FA Cup, Premier League double game week. The one I think that would be the safest probably to go for would be Vardy at the moment. 7 starts in a row and played the full 120 minutes against Real Madrid. But then, has he played too much? Is that pointing out that maybe it could be time for a rest? And then maybe an Ake comes in. He was on the bench against Real Madrid. He got a goal and an assist against Luton, 12 points, and 9 points with a goal against Real Madrid in the first leg. So he really is in form. And he would be someone that I'm interested in till the end of the season. But I'm just not sure in this double game week if maybe he could get a rest in that Chelsea match. He'd be my pick, But I'm saying I wouldn't be so surprised if he did get an odd bench in. On to my team, Arsenal. Feeling a little bit of doom and gloom with my Arsenal assets at the moment. So it's back-to-back defeats for Arsenal out of Europe, and obviously lost against Aston Villa. So fallen behind in the title race. There's no extra fixtures now to capitalise. It is just Premier League only. But there is a double game week this week of Wolves away, Chelsea at home. Tough fixtures, to be honest with you. So Wolves away, never an easy away match. And then Chelsea at home, they are in decent form. All I would say is that Chelsea match is coming after they would have just faced City. So that might be a slight bonus. No goals scored this week across the two games, Villa and Bayern. And not really anything of note when it comes to points. So Saka managed 7 points across the two games. If I'm honest, I think he played pretty poorly in both games. There's a lot of injury talk and a lot of limping going on and concern. But I still think he's probably going to play twice a week in this double game week. And he's probably going to play every game from now till the end of the season. We just don't really have a substitute that can come on for him that remains at the level. So I think he plays twice a week unless he's fully ruled out. If we hear more and he is going to be ruled out, then I would take him out potentially for single game weeks. But I just don't want to take that chance in a double game week 32. Kai Havertz has been in decent form recently, but he dropped into that midfield role against Villa and didn't really work for him. And then he was pretty quiet against Bayern Munich. So not in the best of form so far this week. Defensively, Ben White, I think that's probably the highlight of the week for Arsenal in terms of Dream Team. Managing to fluke a clean sheet against Aston Villa, getting substituted before the goals went in. So 9 points for that clean sheet against Aston Villa. Overall, defensively, I think I'd still just keep the Arsenal defenders, unless you really have got someone else that you want to bring in. Maybe you're paying a part of the bus and you want to get a Man United player in, for example, or you're looking at maybe a Trent. But overall, I think I would probably still just keep my Arsenal defenders for this double game week, game at 32. I don't think it looks that terrible. And then make moves, maybe win that single for Spurs, or that single for against Manchester United. They might be ones that you might want to move players out for. So still think that Arsenal defence is keepable. And I don't see that much rotation happening either. I just don't think there's that many options. I think the rotation is going to happen with Zinchenko, Kivior and Tomiyasu. Maybe Ben White gets the odd rest. Now Tomiyasu can come back in at right back. But other than that, I don't see it. Unless we're completely ruled out of the title race with another few dropped points, I think the Arsenal team is going to still be pretty steady. But I just don't think it's looking that appealing from a Dream Team sense. Before we move on to Manchester United, if you're enjoying the video so far, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I think we're about 4 subscribers off of reaching 2,000, which was my aim for the end of the season. So thank you very much to everyone that is already subscribed. If you're not, please do hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing some Euro content on Dream Team later on in the summer as well. Man United, no wins in 4 games. A 2-2 draw with Bournemouth, and they did look really, really poor at the back this week, which is concerning because a lot of people will be targeting Manchester United potentially for part the bus this game week. But can we possibly just rule that last one out, put it to the back of our minds, and just accept that it's a Coventry-Sheffield United double game week? I know the form hasn't been good, but these fixtures do look brilliant, so I don't think the defence is going to be that much of an issue for this game week. But I'm going to start with Bruno Fernandes because he has been really, really good. So Bruno Fernandes, 16 points this game week, 2 goals against Bournemouth. He also hit the crossbar with a long-range effort. And he's been sort of playing in that sort of number 10 position. I know earlier in the season he was playing a little bit deeper. But they've got Mainu now who's doing really well. Casemiro not so much. But it is letting Bruno Fernandes get further forward, and he seems to be doing a bit better for points. 4 goals in his last 3 matches. He's on penalties, set pieces, 12 goals, 10 assists for the season. I can see him having a really, really good game week in game week 32. Potentially even a differential captain pick. We'll have to see how that one splits. I'm going to do top captains a bit later in the episode. But I think Bruno Fernandes is a really, really good pick for this week. And even if you hold him a little bit longer, game week 33, a single at home to Burnley, On paper, that does look good too. Gets a little bit tougher after that though. 34 away at Crystal Palace, 35 home double Arsenal Newcastle, and then 36 Brighton away from home. But I think that Bruno Fernandes is a very, very good pick. FF Stuff graphic on the screen here, you can see he's got sort of back-to-back double figures, an 8-pointer, 9-pointer, a 6, a 10, a 6, 11 and 9. So pretty consistent, good results from Bruno Fernandes. Most chances created out of all of the midfielders on the game. Third most for shots on target out of midfielders on the game. 9th highest for tackles. And he's starting to hit a bit of bonus now as well. So he's hit bonus in 4 out of his last 5 matches. So looking pretty good. 3 bonus, 1 and 1. So yeah, I think Bruno, really, really good pick this week. Other attacking assets I wouldn't go near. Rashford feels too risky. Much better attackers on the game or midfielders. Højlund, he hasn't broke 3 points in his last 5 matches. And then Garnacho maybe would have made the cut, but there's this stuff of him liking, I think it was Goldbridge posts, sort of slating Ten Hag. So Ten Hag maybe could punish him. I still just don't think it's worth the risk. But let's talk about defence. If I went for Park the Bus this week, I would definitely have Dalot in there. I think he's a really, really good pick. I've been a big fan of Dalot on the game. I had him on my Park the Bus in Game Week 9. Scored a screamer. Don't know if I told you. 5th highest scoring defender on the game currently. 5th highest for tackles. 2 goals, 5 assists, 28 bonus points. So really, really good season for Dalot. And he just plays a ton of minutes as well. So I expect that he will play and start both games. Maguire is the second one that I think I probably would consider putting in. Just because he does have good attacking threat. 2 goals this season. 5 assists. He's a threat in the air. And I just think that these 2 matches, Coventry, Sheffield United, could be good for clean sheet. On to Liverpool. This is going to be a little bit harder because they still have that Atalanta match to play tonight. We've just seen that some leaks have gone up on Twitter, so I've quickly added these to my slides. But earlier in the week, they dropped points and lost against Crystal Palace. So not just Arsenal, Liverpool dropping points as well. And then Atalanta, they're obviously quite a way behind. Probably unlikely to go through. But this is a pretty strong lineup, if this leak is correct. So Alisson starts in goal, which we would have expected Kelleher. Trent is starting at right back, which is good to see him starting. But it would throw a little bit of doubt out there whether or not he'd be able to start Fulham and Everton. Obviously, we don't know how many minutes. Well, you will by the time you hear this. But I don't know how many minutes he's going to get in this game. So that could be concerning if you were thinking about getting him in for the double game at 32. Konate, Van Dijk, both starting at centre-back. And then Robertson starting at left-back. So pretty much a full-strength backline, including the keeper. McAllister, Jones, Szoboszlai in midfield. Salah, Gakpo, Diaz starting up front. So pretty strong lineup. And the obvious one there in the front three, no Jota and no Darwin Núñez, which is not great for my team. So we'll carry on, but I thought a little bit of insight onto the lineup might help with my slides currently. I know you're going to know what the lineup was and probably what the result was by the time you listen to this, but I think that's a little bit interesting. So Salah, still a must. 4 goals in 5 starts since coming back from injury. He has had a few big misses recently, but he's been getting plenty of chances. So I'm not particularly worried. He will start putting them away eventually. Still a great pick. Still, every week there's got to be some consideration for the captain's armband to go on to him as well. A little bit the same as Haaland. In a double game week, Haaland, Salah always should be considered, I think. Second attacker slots, though, these are causing me a bit of problem. So I'm currently got Darwin Núñez in my team, but Jota coming back from injury is a concern. I thought Darwin might end up starting this game, but it looks like Gakpo's going to be starting. Darwin and Diaz as well, both came off early in that last match, only played 66 minutes each against Crystal Palace. Núñez had a really poor game then, missing a lot of chances. And then Núñez only got 60 minutes in the Atalanta game before that. Diaz only got 30. So both players playing with reduced minutes at the minute, which is a little bit annoying, especially when we can get these guys like Palmer and Bruno that are going to get full 90 pretty much twice a week. So without Europe, or I'm assuming they're going to go out, but obviously you might know differently. But without Europe, I think these second attacker slots for Liverpool are not as appealing. The fixtures still look good. Fulham, Everton, West Ham, Spurs, Villa, Wolves. But yeah, it's not that they're bad picks, but with limited minutes, it's just a little bit less appealing and sort of opens up your mind to a few of these other players. They're not true 2 game a week players anymore. Yeah, I might change my mind, but currently that's how I'm feeling about it pre-Atalanta for the other attacking options. Robertson, 5 points against Crystal Palace, 3 bonus, was taking some corners. I've really liked him as a pick. I did have Conor Bradley up until last week. I took Robertson out. I think he must have picked up another injury, wasn't it, a few weeks ago? I ended up taking him out, but he's been so good for bonus when he is on the pitch. I actually currently favour Robbo over Trent, just for minutes. If I had to choose now for gameweek 32, if I was playing part of the bus, I'd potentially consider both. But I feel more confident about Robertson's minutes than Trent. We've now seen Trent starting this evening. I feel like there could be a chance that he gets a bench in one of them. But yeah, Robertson currently, I'm favouring that pick. Virgil van Dijk, I'm a little bit unhappy with at the minute. I've had him in my team for a little while, and he was great, but he hasn't been as great recently. So Virgil van Dijk, not scored above 3 points in his last 7 matches pre-Atalanta. And I'm just a bit concerned that there's no points when there's no clean sheets, or if he's not getting attacking returns. 9 games, no clean sheets now for Liverpool. So a little bit concerned with Van Dijk's form. If an opportunity arises that I can swap him over to a Robertson or a Trent, I think that I could take it, unless it looks like they're going to start keeping clean sheets again. Trent, back starting. Like I said, got doubts that he will start 2 next week. If it came to part of the bus, I think I'd possibly just get him in anyway. He's got such good attacking upside. He will probably still come off the bench if he doesn't start. And I think it's worth the risk that he will get 2 starts. But if I wasn't playing it, I think I'd still just leave it another week and wait for a little bit more information. Maybe if you've got Bradley and you really do have to make a defensive move this week and replace Bradley, maybe go for Trent. But I just think this week there are so many sort of good midfield and striker options. I'd like to use my transfers there. On Bradley, ankle injury, he's expected to be out for up to 3 weeks. I think Klopp said the start of May. So good for Trent, but obviously Gomez still exists. Gomez can play at right back. And then Alisson starting this evening. Very unexpected. I thought it would have been Kelleher. I think a lot of Kelleher owners probably expected that even if Alisson came back for the last game, they'd still get 1 game out of Kelleher this week, but doesn't look like it's to be. Alisson starting in net. On to Chelsea, and Cole Palmer has been the highlight of this game week, but the highlight of their season. He has been so good. Chelsea have got 8 fixtures currently. Could be 9 if they manage to beat Manchester City. They are the team that are likely to have the most fixtures now for the rest of the season. So a guaranteed 8, possibly 9. Chelsea have scored 2 or more goals in each of their last 8 matches. So doing really well attacking wise. And they're 8 unbeaten. So in decent form as well. They've been a little bit of a laughing stock this season, but actually they've turned the form round a little bit recently. Doubles in 32, 33 and 35. So if you were going to go for a Chelsea player, you can probably keep him long term. But we'll start with Cole Palmer. I'm going to start a little support group in the comments. Let us know in the comments below if you did take out Cole Palmer this week, because he was the second most transferred out player in the game, and that included me. So a real painful one to see him score 4 goals. And just to quickly talk through the logic of it. Obviously, he had those double game weeks and he was in a lot of our teams. And then I was anticipating that I would just hold him through the couple of singles, the Sheffield United game and the Everton game. That was my initial thoughts. And then I kept him for Sheffield United. and he disappointed really. Just the 5 points. He did get an assist. Maybe we're getting a bit greedy. He did get an assist, but then he went off early as well. So a little bit disappointing. We thought maybe he could hit double figures in that one. Turned out it was the only one he hasn't hit double figures in a while. And then when we got the leaks that Kevin De Bruyne was going to be starting Luton, I think a lot of us got FOMO there. I certainly did. And I thought maybe I'll just get Kevin De Bruyne in for this double and we can bring Foden in later. And that game week 32 double, City and Arsenal, did look pretty tough anyway. So maybe we thought about bringing him in even later. But 4 goals, 30 points, 3 bonus points, 5 shots on target. A first half perfect hat-trick for Cole Palmer in that Everton game. You could not write it. I don't even think I can be angry about it, really. 1 player performance mark off of hitting maximum bonus as well. What a season he's having. 23 goals, 15 assists, and that's 38 returns now in 26 games. So let me know, if you took him out and missed that mega haul, are you bringing him back with your tail between your legs? Because I think I am. I think I'm considering bringing Cole Palmer back in for game week 32. Tough double game week, but he has scored against Arsenal and City already this season, even if they were both from the penalty spot. Both teams eliminated from Europe this week, so maybe the heads have dropped a little bit. I wanted to check out how he does against these big sides, so I had a look back. Like I said, he scored against Arsenal and City earlier in the season. I remembered that when he was still a City player, he scored against us in the Community Shield. And then he scored against Spurs from the penalty spot. And he scored 4 goals across 2 matches against Manchester United this season. So I don't think the big occasions do faze Cole Palmer. And with Chelsea's decent form, I still think he could be a good pick in 32. So Palmer is definitely someone that I'm watching at the moment. Others, not as appealing. So Conor Gallagher, second highest scoring player at Chelsea. 42 bonus points. Decent for tackles. But it's just not for me. He sort of gets these sort of nitty-gritty points for the bonus, for the tackles. He has had quite a few attacking returns, to be fair, so far this season. But I just don't see it with some of these really good midfield options around. If I wanted a defender, it would be Gusto. He's got 8 assists. He does all right for tackles. Does okay for bonus. And then they have got these extra fixtures. Or, as a punt, there is Jackson up front. 13 goals, 6 assists. But it really is a punt. And the thing that's a bit worrying about this one, he's on 9 yellows. He has to not get a yellow card in that Arsenal match. If he does, he'll have a 2-match ban, I believe. So, City, Arsenal, I don't think you're really going to want him in for that one. After that, you might see that he's got away without the suspension. Maybe he could be on your radar as a punt in game at 33, but to be honest with you, I don't particularly like that. It's all eyes on Cole Palmer this game week. Right, this slide is going to be best of the rest from the double game week. So Everton, Palace, Wolves, Sheffield United and Bournemouth. Now, I don't think these are the best options, really. But there could be some differentials that deliver amongst it. And we're getting towards the end of the season. People are trying to win their mini leagues. People need to go a little bit different at times. Maybe you've got someone that constantly keeps bringing in the same players as you. Maybe you get ahead with going for a bit of a differential. Maybe you're chasing points. These double game weekers could be a differential for you. So the one I like the most, Eberechi Eze, 7 goals, 5 assists for the season, 38 bonus points, 6.4 average. But he's got 5 attacking returns from his last 8 matches. He's been plagued with injuries this season, but he has still done well when he's been available. So 6.4 average, like I said, 5 attacking returns in his last 8. And he should be on penalties as well. I think he is my favourite out of this list of differentials. Someone that I'd like to put in my team, but I'm not the most risky manager. I don't think I'll be doing it. But if I was, he would be the one I went for. West Ham at home, Newcastle at home. West Ham's form hasn't been great. At the back, they've not been great. Newcastle, their defence hasn't been great, or wasn't, but they've managed to keep back-to-back clean sheets now. So that is a little bit of a concern. But Crystal Palace at home are a good side. And we saw what they did against Liverpool in the last match with Eze scoring. So I think they'll be in good form. Elise also from Palace, but I don't think he's quite as good of a pick. And that is only because his slight injury problems he's had recently. So he's got an 8.3 average, second highest average in the game behind Haaland. But he has only managed 13 matches. 6 goals, 3 assists, so 9 returns in 13, 27 bonus. So really good for bonus, really good for attacking returns. But he's only managed 16 minutes and 68 minutes since his return from injury. So for that reason, I favour Eze currently. Cunha from Wolves, 13 goals, 7 assists for the season. He's got a home double of Arsenal, Bournemouth. If you wanted to keep him longer, he's got a home single against Luton after that. So 3 home matches in a row. Not long back from injury himself, but did come back with a brace in the last game week, 14 points. He does potentially have penalties, but it seems pretty uncertain. Sarabi has been taking them recently and putting them away. Hwang is also sort of coming back from injury, has been known to take pens, and so has Cunha, but they've never really all been available at the same sort of time to figure out who is definitely the pen taker. So for that reason, I'm not completely sure that it would be Cunha, especially while Sarabi is still scoring them. So nice home double, but one of them is Arsenal. And a lot of us have got Arsenal defenders in there, so do you really want to be backing a striker to score against your defence? That's what puts me off slightly. If it was just a single against Bournemouth at home, maybe it wouldn't be so appealing. So I'll put Cunha probably behind Eze in my opinion. And then Solanke, 10 points against United. Arguably could have had more if he'd got given a pen. I thought it was a pen, to be honest with you. 19 goals, 5 assists for the season. Having a great season. Definitely on penalties. And yeah, a decent striker. But away at Villa and away at Wolves, you'd have to say they're pretty tough fixtures in comparison to the others. We're going to look at a few single game week players, but I must say I rarely see myself bringing in a single game week player in a double game week. But I thought I would just point a few out for the same sort of reason. Maybe you're chasing a differential, and we have just seen what Cole Palmer can do, for example, in a single. So it's not unheard of. You can get large scores in a single game week, but I pretty much will always favour the double game week. But Newcastle, Isak, 14 points and a brace this game week. 21 goals, 2 assists for the season. 7 goals, 1 assist in his last 7 matches as well. So really, really good form. If you wanted a differential striker, I think Isak would be a really, really good option. Just doesn't quite have as many fixtures. He has a single away at Crystal Palace, but then it's a really, really decent run. So Crystal Palace away, Sheffield United at home, Burnley away, and then it's Brighton at home, Man United away, Brentford. That game week 35 is a double game week as well. Brighton at home, Man United away. The only thing I would say is Callum Wilson has been seen back in training, but Isak has been on such good form. If you were picking a single game week player, I think Isak would be a good one to go for. Gordon, 18 points, 2 assists, 1 goal against Spurs, maximum bonus points, 11 goals, 14 assists. He's had a really, really good season. I just don't see myself bringing him in over some of these double gaming midfielders. Fabian Schär, 14 points, and I thought he needs highlighting because that's his 8th attacking return of the season that he got this week. 5 goals, 3 assists for the season. And an interesting stat that I found, he's had 13 shots on target this season, which is 6 more than Timo Werner. Surprising. I was just having a little look through. That one popped up to me. Aston Villa, obviously playing this evening. We don't know, well you will, but I don't know currently if they're going to go through to the next round. Ollie Watkins, he's got 4 goals in his last 3 matches. He's got a nice single this week at home to Bournemouth, followed by potential extra fixtures in 33 and 34 if they do get through. If they do get through, Ollie Watkins, I think is going to be a must for my team if he has got the extra fixtures. Konsa, clean sheet against Arsenal, 8 points, decent for bonus. And then Martinez could be the only goalkeeper left in Europe We know he doesn't get rotated, so he could be a decent option as well. But that Aston Villa one is going to probably be on hold until we know what's happening in Europe. Similar to West Ham, but I really can't see West Ham turning it around. It's fun doing it this way because if they do, it's going to sound funny in the future. Kudus, 8 points, 13 player performance marks, and maximum bonus in that last match. 2 tackles as well. Really does step up. Second most bonus points in the game with 60. That's 11 behind Bruno Guimaraes in first, but he's played 5 games less. So Kudus really is smashing this new bonus system. He's the 5th highest scoring player in the game over the last 4 game weeks as well. That's pre-tonight's matches. But 43 points. That outscores Foden and Salah in the last 4 game weeks. Bowen has been rumoured to be returning ahead of the Europa League second leg, but we'll see how that pans out later. But yeah, they're the single game week players that I'd potentially target this week. But like I said, I'd always target the double really. Top captain picks for game week 32. Haaland is always going to be up there for me in a double game week. Chelsea at Wembley in the FA Cup, and then Brighton away from home. I expect that he's going to start both, but we'll have to wait and see because there was that sort of talk that he asked Pep to come off in that Real Madrid match. Probably just fatigue though. He hasn't been in his best form, but I think it's always a risk going against Haaland in a double game week. We know what he can do. 31 goals, 9 assists, and an 8.9 average. But there's a few more fun picks out there. The next one, pretty expected, Salah. I won't count him as a fun pick. Fulham away, Everton away. I'm unsure how many minutes he's going to get this evening in the Europa League, but I'd expect that he does end up starting both Fulham and Everton. Both away, so a little bit tougher maybe, but he's got 23 goals, 13 assists, and a 6.7 average. And that Everton fixture, obviously they looked really, really poor against Chelsea, but they've also now got Branthwaite potentially injured. He went off injured in that game. And the thought of Liverpool up against Everton, and they've sort of got pretty much their best centre-back missing. I think it's Michael Keane that will come in. I think that makes that fixture quite appealing. So I think Salah should definitely be seriously considered. I know Haaland and Salah, not the most fun captains, but in a double, big considerations to both. Palmer. Now, I won't be going there for this one. I just don't think the fixtures are quite there. With City in the FA Cup and Arsenal away. But we just can't ignore how good his form has been. Obviously on penalties as well. Like I said, he scored penalties against City and a penalty against Arsenal earlier in the season. Hardest fixtures, probably the best form out of anyone. 23 goals, 15 assists, 8.1 average. And then the one that's tempting me as a differential captain, Bruno Fernandes. Now, I don't think he's going to be a differential this week at all when it comes to picking him, but he might be for captaincy. Coventry in the FA Cup, and then Sheffield United at home. 2 really, really good fixtures. Probably the best fixtures on paper out of any team. But what you would say, he does have less attacking returns than the other guys, and a lower average. So it would be a risk in that regard. But you know he's going to get 90 in both. And he is in decent form. So it would be a differential pick. You're choosing a player that is less attacking than Haaland, Salah, Palmer. But it is tempting as a differential. All 4 of these, I think, are nailed pretty much for 2 fixtures. Haaland may be the question mark. All 4 are on penalties. I like my captains to have penalties. Currently, I think I'll change my mind if Salah absolutely bangs tonight in the Europa League. But currently, I'm thinking between Bruno Fernandes and Haaland. Will I go for a differential or will I play it safe? Right, quick team update. Obviously, there's still quite a few players to play. I've still got Van Dijk. I've still got Kudus, Nunes and Salah all still to play. So this is just sort of mini update. 90 points as it stands with the Europa League game still to play. 3,490 points. So 90 points for the game week. This week I took out Cole Palmer for Kevin De Bruyne. Not good. And Ben White came in for Connor Bradley. So my new transfers got me 28 points. Cole Palmer got 30 alone. Connor Bradley, though, got 1 point and got injured. So it's 28 points versus the 31. So 3 points down. Not the end of the world, but it is a real kick in the teeth when you take out a player right before they haul, especially when they score 4 goals. So still got Liverpool and West Ham to play. I think I started the week at 250. Before the Palmer haul, I got down to 212. And I've crept back up now. I'm 253, I think, as it stands. So really pretty much ended up where I started. But Liverpool, kudos still to play. Obviously, I'm going to wait and see what happens before sharing what I'm thinking with my team. Or before I know what I'm doing with my team. But currently, on the assumption that Liverpool go out and West Ham go out, I'm thinking of taking Kudus out. Reluctantly, because he's been brilliant. But I'm thinking about taking out Kudus for Palmer. I know Palmer's fixtures in the double look tough, but he's got multiple doubles coming as well, which is making it quite appealing to just get Palmer in and keep him, but actually keep him this time. And then I'm thinking of taking Núñez back out my team. This could be even if Liverpool do miraculously turn it around. And taking Núñez out for Bruno Fernandes. I think Bruno Fernandes' fixtures are just so good. To have Palmer and Bruno in there for this game week, I think would be really useful. I'm not that bothered about changing my defence as it stands. I'm not that happy with Van Dijk. Obviously, the triple up on Arsenal hasn't been good this week, but I don't think they're a bad defence overnight. I think it has been some tough fixtures. Bayern twice and Aston Villa. So I'm happy to keep my defence as it is. And I'm really looking to use my fixtures targeting these attacking players. Palmer, Bruno, really on the radar at the minute. Maybe I might get convinced to do an Eze move to be a bit more exciting, but I just don't know who it'd be over. I think I currently would want Bruno over Palmer for this week, but Palmer is more appealing longer term. Currently undecided on the captaincy. Just got it set on Haaland for now. But if I'm feeling a bit spicy, maybe it'll go for Bruno Fernandes. I'll do a mini team update once I know what has happened with these Europa Conference League matches. But I'll just leave this episode there. If you want a bit more Sun Dream Team content, head over to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. Our latest episode is out now on podcast platforms and YouTube. And Ben and Tony are going to be doing a deadline stream Saturday, so do head over to their YouTube channel and check that one out now. Any questions, leave a comment below and let us know how you got on this game week. Thanks, see you on the next one.